Batham Gate terminates at the small Roman fort of Navio. Built on a commanding spur above the River Noe, it was at the meeting point between two important northeast and southwest routes. The Roman soldiers who lived here would have offered protection to the surrounding communities and also brought in a much needed income to the area. The first fort was constructed in AD 78 during the Roman governor Agricola's push north. It was built of timber and earth with a series of large defensive ditches encompassing it. The fort covered just over 3 acres, and outside of its gate to the southeast was a small civilian settlement termed a vicus. The people living here would have provided important services for the garrison stationed at the fort. The Romans had a vested interest in the Hope Valley, and the reason for that lies in the depths of the hills above me. Tacitus believed that Britannia was full of silver and gold, but here they found a different kind of treasure, lead. And lead was used and exploited all over the Roman Empire, from being cast into ingots and trinkets to weaponry and even lead coffins. After extraction, the lead would have been smelted into ingots known locally as pigs for transport. Several survive, stamped with the word Lutudarum, which is the likely name of the Peak District ore field, or at least its administrative centre. The original wooden fort did not stand for long, being abandoned around AD 120 when all available troops were called north to help with the building of Hadrian's Wall. Even though the fort was abandoned, the vicus, which was probably completely subsistent for its income on the fort, remained. It was still by an important trade route, and maybe the occupants suspected the Romans would be returning. Just over 30 years later, they did. A revolt by the local Brigantine tribe meant the Romans needed to strengthen their presence in the area, not only to defend the local people, but also to protect the much-used trade routes. This time, they were here to stay, and the fort was rebuilt in stone. The second fort was much smaller in extent than the first, roughly equating to about 2 acres in size. At this size, it would never have held a full garrison, or at least if it did, they would have been very cramped. The walls that were constructed around the edge of the fort were a massive 7 foot in width and 20 foot high. In fact, so well constructed was the masonry for all the buildings on site that the remains of many of them were still visible in the 1700s. Sadly though now, very little remains, most of it having been robbed for use in local building and construction works. The only stonework that's visible on the site of Navio Fort is found in the centre of the complex. These jumbled boulders are the remains of the underground Principal building, or the headquarters, and they were uncovered during excavations in 1903. You can easily tell they're pieces of Roman masonry because of the characteristic diamond broaching pattern that's carved into each of the large slabs. The fort at Navio was finally abandoned in around 350 AD along with the vicus. This was not a local decision but rather a national one. By the 4th century, the Roman Empire knew that it was in trouble. Along with the ever-present political struggles and instability, the barbarian tribes were increasing their attacks on various fronts. Occupying Britain, on the very edge of the empire, was becoming increasingly difficult.